Mitch McConnell's fall prompts a retirement. Kentucky, Kentucky's governor, Andy Beshear, appoints a Democrat to replace him, even though the law says that he needs to replace them with a Republican. And what is the future of Andy Beshear? Will he run for president? What's going to happen after he is done being Kentucky's governor? Let's look into all of that. So, if you're unfamiliar, Kentucky passed a law a few years ago that says that the legislature gets to pick three people to replace a senator who retires or passes away while in office. And since the legislature is controlled by Republicans, it might even say that it has to be of the party that the senator who retires is from. But anyhow, I believe they pick three people, and the governor has to pick from those three people, is the way the law reads. But the law's never been tested, so its constitutionalities may be slightly in question because the Kentucky Constitution, I think, kind of spells out the role of the governor, and the role of the governor is to uh, put special elections in place if House members go away, and to appoint senators to fulfill that term until the next election. So let's first look into Mitch McConnell. Will Mitch McConnell retire now that he has taken another spill? Of course, he had polio as a young kid, um, which is one of the reasons why I foresaw the no vote on Hegseth. I felt like he was going to be a no vote on RFK Jr., but I'm not sure about that anymore. Um, I never really saw any of the cabinet picks not getting through, but sometimes when I meditate, I'm just shown things. I don't really control what I'm shown necessarily, although I can try. Um, but like, for example, reading on JD Vance is kind of really hard because I just don't really get anything. But I do have a list of from all your comments of questions that people have asked me to read on, and I think about them before I meditate. So, but let's look at this first. Will Mitch McConnell resign from the Senate? Will Mitch McConnell resign from the Senate? So I see the Hierophant. I think he's concerned about the Kentucky governor appointing whoever he wants rather than going with a member of the Republican Party. But let's see. Yeah, so he's wounded, right? Like at the Five of Swords, this is the card that represents being wounded in battle. He's wounded from the polio. I think that's acting up again. Particularly, I think it affected one of his legs more than the other. And over the years, he's had some problems with that. So he's thinking about it. Uh, the challenge is exactly how to time it and how to do it. How does the message come forward is the challenge. Um, we have the Ace of Wands, which is a fiery new beginning. And I think this might be him retiring and being replaced with the Democrat, at least for a short period of time. We'll get into that later. Uh, we have some dark energy in the past. I feel like this is kind of Republicans pushing him not to retire for fear that the Democratic governor of Kentucky would appoint a Democrat. But this was probably pre-election. So at that time, it wasn't clear whether the Republicans would control the Senate and if they did, by how much. And um, so they came to this kind of agreement of just step down from leadership and stay in the Senate, and that's what he has done. Uh, in the sky, we get the Seven of Swords, just trying to get away with something. That's interesting. So he wants to retire. I feel that pretty strongly. His fear is that he'll be replaced with the Democrat, but I don't know that that's as huge of a fear as it was before the election. Um, but the Seven of Swords is like the thief card, like a stolen seat. So I think that is probably what would happen, but we'll look at that more closely. I think it's definitely on his mind. We have a lot of illusion and delusion in the near future, so there's going to be lots of speculation. Don't pay attention to it necessarily. Like I said, the month of February astrologically is a lot of like, we're not going to know what's real and what's not real. So, you know, fortunately, it's kind of rolling with the tides, um, as uncomfortable as that is. And so we'll hear speculation saying, oh, no, he's not going to. Oh, yes, he might. Oh, the law says that the Kentucky governor is supposed to appoint a Republican. Oh, well, that law hasn't been tested. There might be all sorts of speculation in various places where there's still real news. Um, but once a decision's been made, it's going to happen fast. If he decides he's going to retire, he's probably going to announce it and do it within a week. That would be my guess. I don't think he'll announce it and then wait a month, but we'll see. Uh, we get the Four of Cups as well. This is a little bit of apathy. I think McConnell feels like he doesn't really belong anymore. He's no fan of the felon that currently occupies the White House. He voted against Hegseth. We'll see what he does on RFK Jr. And Tulsi Gabbard. I think he's probably going to vote for them. That's my sense, but it wouldn't shock me if he doesn't. He's 82. I think he's kind of gotten to the point of where he doesn't see his way to make a mark anymore. That's why he stepped down from leadership. And he really doesn't want to necessarily even be associated with the MAGA movement. And the hopes and fears, though, we have the voters. So this is both a hope and a fear. Um, you know, the hope is that the voters will be satisfied with the outcome. The fear is that the voters would actually elect a Democrat, which I know sounds slightly far-fetched in Kentucky, but having known people from Kentucky and been around Kentucky politics and following it, it's not as far-fetched as you might think. Actually, Mitch McConnell almost lost his seat once to what's his name? Jim Bunning, I think a former baseball player. Like he only won by like a percent. This was maybe 12 years ago, something like that. But, you know, Kentucky is one of these places that, retail politics is really important. So the right Democrat could possibly have a chance. The outcome we get, the first outcome card, we get the Nine of Wands. This is being on the defense, trying to keep all the stories in until he makes a decision. We get the Six of Swords, which is moving away from troubled waters. I think he feels like if he stays in the Senate, his life won't be as long as if he leaves. The remaining years will be shorter if he stays. I think the stress of it's kind of getting to him. And we also get the King of Wands. I feel like this is uh, the governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear. So will he go? Will he stay? I think he's going to go. That's the what I feel. There's going to be a money coming forward or a message coming forward about money, uh, new money and partnerships, realizing he has everything that he wants, and really opting for a life that's more tempered, although it's going to cause a lot of fighting. And we're going to end up with like a tower situation, which I think is the governor appointing a Democrat. We'll look into that. Um, but once he makes a decision, it's going to come quickly. So I stick by my original uh, instinct that he does retire or leaves the Senate in some way. I think it's a retirement, not a death, but um, you never really know. That was my feeling is that he's going to retire. So, would the governor of Kentucky appoint a Democrat? And so, the legislature's supposed to meet, they pick three people, I think is how the law's written. And then the governor's supposed to pick amongst those three people, but the law's never been tested. What if he just announced right after McConnell announces his retirement? What if he just announced right away that he was appointing a Democrat like an Amy McGrath or um, uh, one of the Democratic House members, or actually, I think there might only be one now. Yarmouth used to be him, but I think Yarmouth retired. Um, so will Andy Beshear defy state law and appoint a Democrat to the Senate? I think so. I think there's a multitude of reasons why he would do that. Because even if it doesn't stick, and say the courts say no, no, you have to go back and put a Republican in, or they refuse to swear the person in, even if the Democrat doesn't actually take the Senate seat, I think this would put Beshear in a better standing if he decides to run for president. We're going to take a look at that next. So it's going to be a judgment call. This is a yes card too. So a couple ways to interpret that, but I tend to go more with my gut than yes nos, unless I'm seeing them. So it's a judgment call. The challenge is, the Page of Swords, which is the spy in the camp, immaturity. Um, in this case, I think this is the Kentucky legislature trying to usurp the power away from the governorship. Uh, Underneath, we get the Two of Swords. Decisions need to be made. And I think in this case, it's going to be a purely political decision on what's best for his future and what he thinks is best for the country. And the part best for the country part, I don't think is a tough decision. I think he'll think that's the Democrat. But what's best for his future might be a different story. We do get the Ace of Cups in the past. This is like a surprising new beginning. I think that's just that law being passed personally. I don't think that's anything more than that. That law is not super old. Um, and it was designed for Mitch McConnell too. It was completely about Mitch McConnell. We get the Ace of Swords in the sky, which is the truth coming out. So there might even be some like leaks, maybe that, if McConnell resigns, Andy's planning on defying the law and appointing a Democrat, or it's February, the astrology's weird. We might hear those stories even though they're not true. It's really kind of it feels like that. The near term future, there's a lot of burdens. Like, which way do I go? Do I follow what the Kentucky legislature is saying we need to do and appoint a Republican? Or do I go against the grain, appoint a Democrat, and have him not get sworn in, have the courts reverse it? I think that's kind of untested waters on what actually would happen. We do get the Eight of Pentacles, hard at work, making plans. Get wish fulfillment. That makes me feel like he's going to appoint a Democrat. In the hopes and fears, we get the Six of Cups. This is about the thinking about the next generation, what's best for them. And, I think most of the people that watch this channel, of course, would think that appointing a Democrat is best for the next generation. I certainly think that. Um, but in the outcome, we get the Five of Cups, which is about loss. That could go a couple different ways. Let's pull a couple more. We get justice and the Seven of Swords again. Okay, so I think we have loss. I think what he's going to try to appoint a Democrat, but I think he probably loses in court, or the Democrat doesn't get seated for a very long time, and we just have 99 senators for a while. Um, we get the Ace of Pentacles underneath, and again, the Five of Swords being wounded in battle. I think this is McConnell. We get full illumination. Hmm. We have the Ten of Pentacles underneath too. It's possible that McConnell passes. I mean, it is possible. Certainly, he's 82, which isn't super old in this day and age, but it's not young either. And he was having some health issues before that weren't really ever explained. So, um, I think though, to go back to the original question, I think the governor of Kentucky will try to appoint a Democrat. I think it's going to go to the courts without any question. What the courts do, I think, is they say you need to follow what the legislature did because it will go to the Kentucky Supreme Court. It won't go, well, it might. It's hard to understand our civic branches of government, even though I know the people on this channel understand them better than most people, and it's still complicated. I could see it going to the state court, but I suppose since it's a federal issue, it could probably go into the federal courts as well. Okay, so what is the future for Andy Beshear, the current governor of Kentucky? What is the future for Andy Beshear? What is Andy Beshear's future? So he's governor until 2027. Kentucky does, we vote for governor, Kentucky votes for governor the year before the presidential election. So Beshear was just reelected in 2023. So what is the future for Andy Beshear? You can see him and uh, his family. He's got a couple younger kids and some that are like in their late teens. You know, he was floated as a vice presidential pick. I can see him going around the country and speaking. He was doing this for the Harris campaign as well before the election. He spent some time in Georgia and a little bit in Pennsylvania. So it's going to be some sort of new beginning for sure, with a lot of energy behind it. The challenge is he's very weary of stepping into such a role if he were to like run for president. He's very weary about how this would affect his family. His kids are quite young, but by the time 2028 came around, I think they'd all be at least teenagers. I'm not quite sure on that. Uh, we do have the Democrats underneath. I think there will be some lobbying for him to run because he comes across as, a conservative Democrat. Is he a conservative Democrat? I don't think anybody really knows because in Kentucky, the Republicans have always had a supermajority. So he's basically just a placeholder, other than getting a few things done with Republicans. Everything he vetoes gets overridden. So in the past, there was a lot of fighting, and I think this was with the state legislature. We get the Five of Cups, which is about loss. It could be that loss in court with respect to the Senate seat. Could be something else as well. We get the Page of Swords in the near future. Again, this is a spy in the camp. It could be immaturity. Also could be youth. Let's keep it open mind as we go through the rest of the spread. We get a message coming forward with respect to money, but it's coming slowly. Makes me feel like if he does run for president, he's going to have a hard time fundraising. We do get partnerships forming, and we get ill health in the hopes and fears. I wonder if that's just not in reference to McConnell. And then we get the Five of Pentacles being left out in the cold. And we get coming together in celebrations, the Ten of Cups. And we get the High Priestess, some dark energy. And the Four of Cups underneath, something coming to fruition within time. Waiting for one ship to come in is another way to say that. The Victory card, steady leadership as well. I don't think that he will become president. He might run for president and it be kind of a really floppy campaign. Now, I could be wrong and I could be right. It's, you know, the way it is, but I don't, it doesn't feel like he's going to become president. It feels like he might try and then he might end up like as a president of a university or something like that. So, anyhow, well, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.